Hey everybody, it's Clint Powell, and today's episode is brought to you by two great sponsors. One is my friends at JB Millworks. Jeremy Price and his staff do wonderful work. I'm going to tell you how to get a hold of them first. jbmillworks.com, or you can call them at 706-965-6940. And then I'm going to tell you why. You ready? They have great products. They have doors, they have stair parts, trim work, anything you're wanting for remodel or new construction. But they also have beautiful plantation shutters. Make your house look gorgeous. And high quality, energy saving, gorgeous, beautiful sun-clad windows. I know a little bit about sun-clad windows. I know the owner of the company, Frank Anderson, and I'm telling you right now, if you have a home and you're wanting to get the best of both worlds, high energy savings and yet a beautiful wood look on the interior, it is gorgeous inside and outside wood-clad windows from Sun Windows. jbmillworks.com or 706-965-6940. Also, a sponsor of today's episode is Lori Monteith with Keller Williams, or as she is known on Facebook and Google, Team Monteith. Lori started in the real estate industry back when everybody was getting out of it with the great economic downturn. She made the most of it. She pulled through. She does business the right way. And in a world where there's all these multiple offers, houses are not staying on the market long, you're wanting to move or you're wanting to sell, you need someone who has a track record of getting things done. Find out more about her. Team Monteith is on Facebook. You can also Google Lori Monteith, but you can call them at 315-0042, 423-315-0042, or you can find out more at findchattanoogarealestate.com. Enjoy today's episode. Hey folks, Clint Powell here. This is During the Break. Let's do this. Hey everybody, welcome to During the Break podcast. I'm Clint Powell. Thank you for finding this podcast, and do what we always ask you to do. Share, rate, and review. I've been told that is where the action is. That's where the magic happens, when you share, rate, and review. So that's what I need you to do. All right, so I do these mini podcasts where it's my mental therapy. I just released one a couple of days ago. It's about being a dad, the perspective of a dad. Just got stuff off my brain. If you're a dad, you've got a dad, you want to be a dad, know a dad, you might get something out of it. But most of the time, I always try to get people on who are way smarter than I am, especially at least more entertaining. Today, I think I'm pretty lucky to have both. I've been chasing this one down, and I'm going to be super transparent because that's just who I am. I tried this yesterday, and you can hear it giggling. I tried this yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. I counted this up, Chasity, over the last 8 years. I've done over 200 seminars for businesses. So I've done them from as low as 5 people up to 500 or 600 people. And I've done 150 podcasts, radio shows. I've done all this stuff. Phone interviews make me more nervous than anything else I do.
Yes.
I don't know why, because I told you this yesterday. It's just, so many things can go wrong. You and I agreed. I like having somebody in front of me. You are the same way because you can read body language. The person I'm talking to, and we'll go into why she is such a good interview, such a good get, is Chasity Snowden. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Thank you for coming back.
Yeah, you're welcome. No worries.
You handled it so gracefully. I was so embarrassed yesterday, and you're like just super cool with it. And I was like, she hung up the phone and was like, dadgummit, rednecks in Chattanooga.
Not at all.
All right, so here's what I wanted to tell you. I'll for the listeners, you need to find her, and we're going to give you all this information. You need to find Chasity on Instagram and Facebook and follow her, because one of the things that I think is super cool about all the guests I have on is the journey. You know, as you get older or you get more experience in life, you realize that success is never really a destination. You never really arrive. It's the journey. And when I see your Instagram and I watch how you talk to people and how you try to help people, it seems you have bought in with it's a journey concept. And so with that being said, tell me a little bit about how you got involved. And this is the first thing we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about your nutritional coaching. Because I put down success because I think a lot of what you do is just bigger than nutrition. But you're
Thank you.
Yeah, you're 100% welcome. I've watched your videos, and I think sometimes you might agree with this. Some of the habits, some of the principles that are involved in nutrition and lifestyle also can be applied to relationships and business. those basic principles.
Absolutely.
But you're also known for CrossFit, and I wanted to kind of start with that. Tell me what got you into CrossFit, and then we'll dive into a little bit about what CrossFit is more in depth.
Let's see. I actually started CrossFit because some guy in a bar told me I looked like a CrossFit athlete, and I thought he was being rude. And before I started CrossFit, I was into bodybuilding and lifting weights. I've always done that. So my legs were a little thick, and that's what he meant it as a compliment, but
Right.
I didn't know what he meant, and my eating disordered brain said, oh, he's probably putting me down. And then one of my really good friends told me that I should try CrossFit. She had looked into it, heard about it, and knew that my past was, I was a gymnast as I was little. I loved working out. I was just really into being physical and doing active things. And she was like, maybe this could be something new that you could try. And so I Googled it and found the gym that was the closest to where I was living. It was CrossFit Deerfield Beach, and walked into the CrossFit gym at like a 6 a.m. class.
And then you were hooked. It was done.
Oh, it was on after that.
The good thing about having this part of the conversation yesterday is I know a little more now. So I can preemptively smile because I know the part that's coming next. How many days in a row did you work out when they finally said you got to take a break?
It was actually just 4, but I was in so much pain I could barely walk. CrossFit is completely different than bicep curls and squats.
Yeah. Well, so, I didn't get a chance to talk about this yesterday because of technology. But before we go into all your achievements in CrossFit, do you have a favorite exercise in CrossFit or in working out in general? When you walk into a gym, if somebody said, you get to do this exercise today, which one jazzes you the most?
Handstand push-ups.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Why?
I feel anything where I'm on my hands, walking on my hands, standing on my hands, and handstand push-ups, you can't think about anything else when you're upside down. For some reason, my heart rate slows down. My nervous system is calm. I feel most at peace when I'm singing. I love to sing. But when I'm working out, I feel most at peace when I'm upside down.
That's crazy. Like a bat.
I know.
That's funny. When you started doing the getting prepared for the games, I want to go into that a little bit. But before we do, yesterday we were talking about the language that CrossFit has and how that kind of ties into the community. So you go get hooked on CrossFit. You go 4 days. They finally say, hey, you've got to give your body a break. But one of the things that I have seen outside looking in is this community that CrossFit has. And I wrote these 2 or 3 things down, and you can just take them and run with them. I wrote the word community down, and then I wrote the word acceptance down because I like the fact that no matter where you are in your journey, if you walk in and you've never done anything athletic, or if you're the Chasity Snowdens of the world, if you're in that gym, everybody gives you the respect that everybody else gets.
Yeah, and the coolest thing about the community inside of CrossFit is whoever is doing the workout, it doesn't matter if you finish first, middle, or last. Like, the goal is to finish, and the person that is last usually gets more cheering than the person that finishes first. And also the coolest thing about it is every single person, whether you're really good at it or you're not so great at it, you're brand new, you're middle of the road, they're all doing the same workout. And that's just, it's great because there's not very many sports that are like that. I mean, obviously you might have to scale a few things, but you're all in the gym within the same amount of time, going after the same goals and just working your tail off. And it's everybody, that's where the community comes from because you're in pain together.
Well, and you respect the effort. I mean, and I know that transcends other sports, but it's, hey, listen, you're at a different place than I am, but we can each respect the fact you're giving it all you have for where you're at. And that's a big deal. We talked just about that language. I'd mentioned it earlier. You guys have your own language. Part of that is the names of the workouts. Tell me again how the names for these different workouts come up, because again, it goes back to that I'm part of this clique. I'm part of this group, this tribe.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things when I walked into a CrossFit gym and saw, they were like, oh, come up to the board. here's the workout. And I was like, is that English? I don't even know what that says. How am I supposed to know what they're talking about? Luckily, they went through the movements, but still, every single day I went into the gym, the letters and the numbering and the way they abbreviate things was written on the board, and I couldn't read it. Even to this day, sometimes my coach will give me a workout, and I'll be like, I don't know what that means. And he'll have to tell me what the name of the movement is, and I've been doing it for a long time. But all of the workouts, the reason they named them is because usually every time you walk in the gym, it's a different workout.
Right.
So there was no way to determine if you were getting better or not, because you were always doing a different combination of different movements. I mean, obviously, if you got stronger, that was one thing, like the 1 rep max. But otherwise, you couldn't tell if you were getting fitter.
Right.
So they created these workouts where it's like the standard workouts, and they're usually named after females. And that way, when you go into the gym and you do one of those workouts, you've done it before, you already know what your normal time is. And also, everybody else in the CrossFit space knows what their time is on that workout. And you have people to compare to see how you are within the world, and also how much better you've gotten by doing all of the CrossFit workouts between that.
Well, and if you walk into a gym in Denver or you walk into a gym in New York, if the name of that workout's up there, it's universal. I know. That's another way to be comfortable where I'm at. Now, you did tell me a funny thing on why the creator of CrossFit named it after women.
Yes, most of them are named after women, except for there are hero WODs that are named after fallen heroes. But the women, the girls, the reason he named that is he said he's never experienced anything other than a woman that has left him lying on the floor in pain, looking up at the ceiling, thinking, why did I just do that?
Sorry, I did not know that till yesterday, and I was determined to get that one back in. I was not leaving that out.
Yes.
I think that's funny. All right, so you go into this gym after 4 days. They say, "Hey, your body needs a break." You realize this is my thing. I've got a passion for it. I got a skill for it. You're loving it, and then fast forward over the next 3, 4, 5 years, you just hit your stride. And if I'm not mistaken, as of last year, you went to the World CrossFit Games, but you were ranked 20th in the world. Was it 15th in the United States, or was it lower than that? Was it better than that?
I actually don't know my ranking. You told me yesterday. I had never seen it because I never was allowed to look at the leaderboard.
Well, I'm looking right here. So if you're wanting to know, I'm on a page that's called it's the GamesCrossFit.com athlete page, and it had you at 23rd. But I realized yesterday after we talked, you ended up being 20th, and in the United States, and U.S. last year, you were ranked 15th.
Wow.
So there you go.
Pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty good.
Yeah, there's a saying in CrossFit, leave your ego at the door, and we kind of all of us obviously check the leaderboard to see where we are. But once you get to a certain point, like my coach wouldn't let me check.
Right.
Because our competitions are kind of long. They're like 5 weeks long sometimes for the primary competition, and checking the leaderboard either boosts your confidence or lowers it. And he's like, you have control over your brain. And he's really, really good about helping me control my emotions inside of it, because obviously it makes a big difference. But he wouldn't let me check the leaderboard because I might check and see that I was up or down, and it would affect the next workout.
Well, and so much of what we do is subconscious. We don't know.
Absolutely.
We don't know all of a sudden why we have less energy, or we don't know any of that. So I think that's a pretty smart move. But tell people real quick how the process works. In other words, how do you go from a gym that you're in to the World CrossFit Games? And then we'll spend just a few minutes of talking about the games before we move on to something else.
Yeah, so everybody in the world competes in the open, and this is the way it works. They've restructured it a little bit this year. There's some other ways to get to the CrossFit Games. They have different competitions. But prior to this new structure, everybody in the world competed in the open. They still have that now, but it's 5 weeks of competition inside your own CrossFit gym. And every single person in the world, from the person walking in the gym for the first time to the best in the world, do the exact same workout. And you do one workout every single week for 5 weeks, enter your scores online, and enter your videos if you think you're going to make it to the next level. Then they judge it. There's a worldwide leaderboard, and then in the Masters division, which is the division I was in, top 200 in the world move on to the next level. About a month or so later, you're given another set of 4 workouts. During a weekend, you do all 4 of those workouts as many times as you want to get the best scores you can possibly have, which is super painful because then you keep doing the workouts over and over again, and you have to structure them, to where you can get the best at all 4 of them. Then you submit your scores, your videos, and top 20 in the world end up going to the CrossFit Games, which in the past 3 years have been in Wisconsin, and before that they were in California.
When you go to the games, so you get invited to the games, do you know the exercises you're going to be doing then, or is it completely a surprise?
Yeah, they tell you what they're going to be.
Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know if you walked in.
I mean,
and they
it's
were
not
like,
a long time before that but you know.
Oh. Did any of those exercises come up to surprise you where you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that one?
No. To be honest, it's never a surprise because every single competition you do, you have no idea what they're going to pull out. You're always, it's a constant like, well, you have to be pretty good at everything and an expert at nothing. That's true in life a lot of times too. Did the games meet your expectations? Was the experience overall what you thought it would be? Is it something that you go, yes, it was exactly what I wanted it to be? Actually, it was a lot better than I could ever have imagined because the year before I actually had dipped into adrenal fatigue or HPA axis dysfunction, and we ended up 6th the year before. I was on a team, and inside the team section of making the CrossFit Games, you need to be top 5 in your region in order to make it. So we missed it by 1 place.
Oh, wow.
And I had trained so much, and I got sick after that and was just tanked hormonally out of whack. And so I didn't think I was actually going to be able to compete. So to be able to have the opportunity to compete, then make it, because also in 2018 when I was 23rd in the world, that meant I didn't make it. So actually 3 people dropped out, and then I got an email like a month and a half later that I made the games. And so I literally was just floored, literally on the ground crying in tears because I thought my career was basically over because this was like my last attempt because I wanted to get healthy and make sure my hormone profile was good for the rest of my life. And so, yeah, it was amazing. One of the girls I really look up to was Sam Briggs. I've always, since I walked into the gym for the first time, she was just a person that was always good. And I kind of looked to her as something that potentially I could be good at CrossFit like she was because she was my age, even though she was like already at the games when I found out what CrossFit was. And she had been a few times already. So
you caught up with her.
To go, but well, to be able to compete with her was amazing and actually beat her at a few workouts. But all the other workouts was funny is at the end of the workout, like I said, most people, the person that's the last person gets most of the cheering. Yeah, so I had Sam Briggs. I beat her a couple times, but for all the other workouts, she was beside me at the end of my workout because she'd already finished and recovered and was cheering me on. So it was better experience than I could ever imagine to have like the person I have always looked up to standing beside me, cheering me on to get to the end of the workout. It was probably one of the best experiences of my life. It was pretty epic.
Were you nervous in front of those people? I mean, once you get in a competition, I understand, but before you step out there or they call you out, were you more nervous than you expected, or were you not nervous at all?
I was the same nervous. Every single competition, whether it's a workout for the open, the first competition inside my gym, or it's just 3, 2, 1, go, and I'm in a class workout. I'm so competitive that I get nervous.
I do too. Yeah,
but
that's good.
One of the cool things my coach did teach me, which has reframed my brain inside of my entire life, and that's one of the reasons I think I'm so successful in a lot of ways, is because of the reframing that Kyle Ruth has done with my brain, is he told me that excitement and nervousness are the exact same chemicals in your body, and the feelings are the exact same. It just depends on how you decide to change it and how you decide to think of it.
That's cool. That's very cool. And again, it goes back to, in a minute, we're going to transition over to being a nutrition success coach. A lot of these things you learned at CrossFit, and whatever you are, if you're listening to this, whatever you've had success in, a lot of the same principles can transfer over to what you do in other things. Before we leave the CrossFit topic completely, what are you got a tip or something? Somebody's out there listening, they're saying, you know what, I want to try CrossFit. Do you got a little bit of looking back on it now, some advice you would give them?
Honestly, get your food in check soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because most people, within the first 6 to 8 months, they try CrossFit and they're super excited. And they're like, wow, I'm PRing, I'm getting all these gains, and I'm losing weight, and things are great. And then they hit a plateau about 6 to 8 months, sometimes 10, 12 months. It depends on the person. And then 2, 3 years later, they're still in the exact same place because they've never changed the way that they fuel themselves. And you can't fuel yourself the exact same way for CrossFit as you can for bodybuilding or walking or cycling. It's a completely different sport, requires more carbs, and you need to get that in check quickly before you move on, because otherwise you're just going to plateau, and that's what happens to a lot of people. Luckily, I was so obsessed with CrossFit that I got a personal coach. I got Kyle to coach me, 9 months into my CrossFit career, and then he instructed me to get a nutrition coach a few months after that.
Well, it's the definition of insanity. If you're on a plateau for a month or 2 months or 3 months, if you keep doing the same thing, more than likely you're not going to get to a different place doing the same stuff. And I think this is a good place for us to transition over to kind of what you're doing now, and we'll get into what you're going to be doing in the future. But the nutritional coaching and success coaching part of it. Hey, folks, don't forget this episode is brought to you by JB Millworks, jbmillworks.com. And we'll just remove the CrossFit side of it because I know you were telling me how, what you got to have. The fueling your body is super important for CrossFit, but fueling your body is super important for everything. It's not just CrossFit. So when you left CrossFit, if I were to go to your Instagram page today, I see the workouts, I see the motivational stuff. I always see a handful of pills, which we're going to talk about in just a second. I'm trying to figure that out. But what do you do right this second? How does nutrition and the lifestyle, CrossFit, how did that all come together to what you do now?
Personally, what I do now is I knew I was transitioning out of being a CrossFit competitive athlete, and that had kind of become my identity for the past 5 years, because when you're trying to go to the CrossFit Games, everything else takes a backseat. And training for aesthetics is completely different than training for performance. And I actually just posted about it today that, it was hard for me to make the decision to be like, you know what I really want is not to be good in fitness anymore. I made that goal. I don't want to, it was hard for me to say it, but I really didn't want to go back to the CrossFit Games. I loved it, but I want to have the body that I have always desired. I want to be fit, and I want to change my body composition, because inside of getting adrenal fatigue and getting sick and training all the time, I had to eat a ton of food in order to recover, but to keep training. And my body wasn't burning calories the way I needed it to, so I put on 10 pounds. So when I went to the CrossFit Games, I was very uncomfortable in my skin. I was the fittest I've ever been in my life, but I didn't look the way I wanted to, and I went and got all these free clothes. And as I'm putting on the clothes in the dressing room, I'm literally bawling.
Oh, no.
Because I'm reached the pinnacle of where I wanted to be, and I worked 5 years to get here, and now I'm going to be uncomfortable in the clothes that they're giving me. And even though the weekend was amazing, I gave back the shorts, or I got some more shorts, and they actually gave me 2 to 3 other pairs of shorts, because the super tight shorts I wasn't comfortable in that everybody wears.
Right.
So my goal now is to be comfortable in the CrossFit Games clothing that I got that I didn't even wear on the floor. So that post is coming. But currently, physically, what I'm doing is I still do love CrossFit. I love CrossFit movement. So my coach, Kyle Ruth, and I and his wife, Haley, are developing a program that's basically like CrossFit-esque and has all these CrossFit movements, but it's not intensive on the nervous system. And then it also has a food component. And so my macros are up and down and all around. And it's also related to the hormone cycle, the like my period and stuff. So
Right.
it's very interesting, but that should be coming out in a few months once we beta test it, and basically I'll be the before and after of that.
Well, it's odd when you said we're talking about the transition and how you feel, and you said it was hard for you to say, I don't want to be the competitive CrossFit. I wrote some words down. That's how I just take scribble notes. But, we as people are always writing books, but that's just a chapter. You don't have to stay in the same chapter. It's actually sad if you kind of stay in the same place. The fact that you had to transition is very cool. And I don't understand guys either. When we start talking, especially as we get older, hormones are part of who we are. If we think women only struggle with the hormone part of what we're going through as we age, whether you're 20, trust me, when you're 30, your hormones are way different than they were when they were 18. And I'm not just talking about the sex drive hormones. I'm talking about the hormones that are released in your brain, your growth hormones. All of these different things are just impacting our thoughts and our sleep patterns and the way we get hungry and the way we burn fat. But none of us really take time to study that. And that's why I think people gravitate towards folks like you, because you have taken the time. You are using yourself as the before and after. And we may not know what we're going through, but with the right set of questions, you probably could help somebody and figure it out.
Yes.
So my question to you is, what is a macro and micro? You threw that out there as we were talking about it. So you talked about the hormones, but I know this right now. There's a lot of people listening, and if you're in CrossFit, macros and micros, you're like, well, you know what they are. You know what they are. But if a lot of people don't know what they are, what are those, and what do they mean?
And it's so funny that you say that, because there's a lot of things I consume I assume because the CrossFit community is a very educated community.
Right.
And so when I speak online, I used to only speak primarily to the CrossFit space. And recently, since I've changed from CrossFit to more like aesthetic work, I'm drawing in a lot more people that they don't have the education of even normal habits and what normal food is, and even what macros and micros are. And I'm speaking, and I've had people be like, what is a macro? What is a micro? What are you talking about? And I was like, oh my goodness. I just assumed everybody knew that. So macros, MACRO, is the protein, carbs, and fats that make up the calories that we eat. The micros are the vitamins, nutrients, phytonutrients inside the food you eat, if you eat food that has nutrients. A lot of food is food, but it doesn't have a lot of nutrients. It might have macro, protein, carbs, and fat, but when you look at the ingredients and the vitamins and minerals and plant nutrients in it, it has zero. So that's why it's good to have both.
Well, and it's good to track them, right? So, but when somebody comes to you for what you do, I mean, do you go through their macros and micros? Or are you not at that level of coaching? Well, how deep do you go in the woods with them on this?
Yeah, I teach people how to track their food inside an app on their phone. And the cool thing about it now, I mean, I remember, which is funny, I just thought of this the other day. In grammar school, I was obsessed with food. And I used to write on a piece of paper. I had a notebook that was like protein, carbs, fat, calories, sodium, water. Like, I logged my food.
How old were you?
Every day.
How old were you How old were you when you were doing that?
That's like junior high when I started that. When I got into high school, I would carry 4 liters of water in my book bag with my books and make sure I was emptying out all liters by the time I left school.
Wow.
Like, it's always been a part of my life. Which is interesting.
I was asking friends if I could have their piece of that square pizza, and you're over here drinking.
I remember the square pizza.
That stuff was awesome. I don't know. I see pictures of it now, and it looks like, leftovers from something I wouldn't want. But remembering it in my brain, it was the best food ever.
It was always on Friday. It was the best day ever.
And the little thing of ice cream, with the wooden spoon.
Yes, the little thing of ice cream was so good.
Yep.
I loved those. And then the little milk cartons, I love those too.
But I digress. You're drinking water and being healthy. Clint's eating ice cream and pizza. I think I see where we're going.
Well, and this was when I was at GPS. Like, when I went, like, because GPS had like a smorgasbord and like 18 bars for us to choose from food. It was craziness.
Right.
But I do remember the pizza from, first through fifth grade. That was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, when I talk to clients, I teach them how to log their food, but the apps nowadays, it's so much easier than like having a piece of paper and writing it down and adding it up. Now you just scan the back of a package and you put how much you ate, and it's easy. And my clients, I send them what's it called, a travel scale, so that they always have a scale with them as well if they want to measure their stuff.
Have you found that measuring food, people laugh at that sometimes because, I've got the portion is the size of the palm of your hand or something like that. Is measuring your food super important, or are there tricks of the trade like that? Can you tell somebody about what a portion of something is?
Well, it's I always liken it to like a GPS. It depends on who you are. Obviously, if you are trying to get abs and you're going to stand on stage, or if you're trying to make the CrossFit Games, then every single piece of food that goes in your mouth probably should be weighed, not even measured. It should be weighed because that's even more accurate, instead of being like, well, it's about 4 ounces because it's the size of my palm. Now, if you're Sally that like, I'm just trying to get you off McDonald's, like, that's not as important. Like, if I'm just trying to get you to eat better food, and the reason the weighing is so important is because, like, inside a GPS, if you're like, hey, I kind of want to get to Deerfield Beach, Florida, well, you can put in just a random address, and you don't really have to know exactly where you are to get there. You just kind of put it in. But in order to know, like, where you want to go, we have to know where you are exactly. Then, like, it's just easier if you know exactly where you are.
Well, and I also think it would surprise people. I mean, I'm whenever I start journaling my diary, if I'm getting ready for to do a fight or something or whatever I do, I'm always surprised at how much, and I've only journaled twice my diets in the course of my life. I used to be a trainer a long time ago, an ACE trainer, ACE, all these things. But whenever you start journaling, you will surprise yourself on how much food you eat, especially if you're really honest. The handful of cashew nuts counts, the midnight peanut butter and jelly sandwich counts. Just because it's midnight doesn't mean your body doesn't count it.
The little pieces of candy that were at the store that you went to, those count. They count.
Hey, if you don't mind, let's do this on nutrition. I'm going to bring up some topics. Let's do kind of I'll just throw the words out there and you give me your quick take on them.
Okay.
Let's do this one first. Sugar versus fat. A lot of us have heard, fat makes you fat, and now we're starting to hear that sugar's bad for you, but give me your input on sugar versus fat when it comes to an overall healthy lifestyle.
Well, I don't think either one in a crazy amount is probably good for you. Meaning, if you're yes, there is a time and a place for every single diet known to man. Just that's because it's going to work for somebody.
Right.
But in other words, everybody is, pro ketogenic diet right now, which basically is all fat. But the thing is like most people with high fat diets, they can't live a quote unquote normal American life. So their lifestyle completely changes and it segregates them from the normal daily life or going to grandma's house and having a cookie. So inside of that, now your life is not full. So I don't particularly like that for most of the people in the world. Sugar, same way. Sugar and eating a whole bunch of it is never going to be really great for you, but sugar's not bad for you. It's just, how your body processes it as well.
That's where that individualization comes in when you start talking about your diet and going to doctors and all that stuff. Let's talk about body image just real quick. I say this all the time. I've raised boys and girls struggle with body image, and most people would go, yes, girls, they struggle with their body image and the media, but guys struggle with body image the exact same ways. They just show it differently.
I completely agree. There's just as many men out there with eating disorders as there are women.
Oh, and I've said this. I've got buddies who are big bodybuilders, massive, giant human beings, the dinosaurs of men, the monsters. But a lot of them have the same, their body image issues just just transformed. I mean, just showed itself in a different way from somebody who's going through maybe anorexia or bulimia. I mean,
absolutely.
How have you had those struggles?
The bodybuilding circle too is like really, really. It's hard with the body image thing because literally your entire life and your sport are centered around what your body looks like. So I've been in that world, and it's a hard world to be in because the thing is the scale changes every day.
Right.
It just does. Your body changes, fluctuates weight every day. So when you're trying to be perfect and be on stage, it's a hard place to be body image-wise.
Well, you build a house of mirrors. Everywhere you turn, you see yourself, and you're usually, and we're all this way. We're the most critical. I'll give you a pass and say, oh, you look fine, you look great. But when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we see every little thing that doesn't look what we want it to look like.
That is the truth.
How do you help
And that's
clients?
one of the reasons I loved CrossFit, because there was no mirrors in the gym.
Oh, that's right. There's no mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, you know what? I'm going to call my house CrossFit House now. No mirrors. All my mirrors are gone. I feel way better about myself already. I like that.
Self-image went up. 100%.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get home now. Right out of the shower, I'm the man. Accountability.
I always have thought that.
What now?
Why do they put the mirror right where you open the shower curtain? I'm like, man, I never look good with no makeup and my hair wrecked.
Absolutely.
And like,
yeah. Can we?
You're not like trying to flex. You have no filters. Like, can we get mirrors with filters? Like, what's the crap?
You know what? That would be, you could have a mirror that you set with a permanent filter. So every time you stand in front of it, it shows you what you want, not what you are. That is a great invention.
That would really, really do well for selfies because you know everybody doing them bathroom selfies.
Absolutely. Hey, one of them that just removes the toilet from the background, I would take. If we could
that
just...
might make dating really hard though, because heck, every time I swipe left or right, I'd have no idea what the person looked like.
Well, I can tell you right now, if I'm swiping either direction, if you've got a toilet in the background, the odds are not good. Not that I'm a prize or my door's not getting knocked down, but I can tell you right now, if there's a urinal, or if there's not a urinal, but if there's a stall in the background with 3 other girls and y'all have got nothing else to do, we're probably not a good fit. Just going to give you a heads up.
I know. It's so weird.
It's awkward.
U.S. and the world is a very weird place these days.
It's the problems of the first world right now. Hey, okay, let's do this real quick. Accountability partners. How important is it if somebody's listening to this and they're starting this journey to have someone to hold you accountable for what you're wanting to do? Wow.
It's literally the reason I have a job.
And next question. Could I ask a dumber question? Yeah. Well, but I mean, even in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a dumb question. The thing is most people don't reach any goal unless they have somebody holding them accountable. Like, it's just, you wouldn't go to school if somebody wasn't there and going, hey, are you going to come in? You wouldn't go to work unless you had a boss. It's the same thing for anything else that we set as our goals inside of our own lives. If you don't have somebody giving you checks and balances, you just don't do it.
Do you ever get in your clients just calling you up outside of these set times or just reaching out saying, hey, can I get some extra feedback because they're struggling?
Yeah, that's actually the way my program works. That's cool. Why it's so successful. My clients have a specific time when they talk to me, and it's like, you're on my schedule, but you have full 24-hour, 7-hour access because I have clients everywhere in the world. You have complete access to me, and I communicate via text anytime. They email me, they know they're not going to get me because I hate emails. It's widely known. But they also can communicate with me anytime over Marco Polo.
What is Marco Polo?
You know what that is?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
It's a video chat app. So they literally can be driving down the road and video themselves, and then I'll have a notification like a text message, but I get to see their face, and then they get to see my face.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's very cool. All right, handful of supplements. I see this on your Instagram page. You always seem to have 2,347 pills in your hand. Maybe not quite that many, but I do see that. So what supplements are you taking? Is that come from a brand? What is that?
Well, the capsules that you see every single day is what I've been taking since 2006. It's called Juice Plus. I actually have sold it as well since 2006 because the research just made sense to me. All it is fruits and vegetables in a capsule. And then also I take the omega blend from them as well, and it's like a vegan omega instead of fish omegas, because why have fish when actually the omegas come from what the fish eat. So we just took out the middle fish and then went straight to the source. But the reason there's so many is, let's be honest, I'm vain and I don't want to look old, and I know fruits and vegetables will keep me from looking old, so I take double. Also, I know fruits and vegetables are what cut down, like, I was training so much that I knew I was breaking my body down faster than I was able to replenish it. So I started taking double while I was training for the CrossFit Games. But that's what I take every single day. I used to have, when I started taking it, I was sick. I had Crohn's disease, which is probably what made me susceptible to other problems inside of CrossFit. And I also had allergies. They thought I was bipolar. I was taking medication for all of that. I used to take 16 pills a day just to go to the restroom. So for me, that many pills being something that has completely taken away all of the medication that I used to take is not a lot of pills for me. Also, it's not expensive. It's an investment for me because I took that, I'm no longer 175 pounds and sick.
There's a podcast, a friend of mine named Ed Jones owns Nutrition World here in Chattanooga, and he's got a podcast called The Holistic Navigator, and he talks about what you're talking about. A lot of people treat the symptoms and never treat the problem. They never get to the why, and so they're always feeling the same. You know, and I want to, as we wrap this nutrition side of it up, one of the things that I've noticed, and I've heard you say, but sometimes when you start this journey and this process, I'm going to start eating better. The two things that I wanted to bring up that I saw on your Instagram, one is sleep. I noticed you talk a little bit more lately about sleep. And then another one is how sometimes we look at success, we look for motivation out there. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I've got videos I listen to every single morning as I'm getting my butt up at 4:30 or 5 to do my thing. And I go watch videos. But sometimes we also tend to think they're designed for success. They are destined to be successful, not so much me. And we don't allow ourselves to have the opportunity or to go really chase our dreams. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of sleep in your world? And then we'll wrap this part up about you addressing that, about giving people, how do you tell people that they are allowed to succeed?
So the reason you're seeing all the stuff on sleep, I'm actually developing a habits program. And right now I'm helping people because what I found is when I started CrossFit, I had already developed all the habits that would help me succeed a lot faster in a performance sport. And the things that I thought everybody was already doing was not what they were doing. Like all my friends from home, they don't move every day. They don't get 7 to 8 hours sleep. They don't know how to count macros. They have no idea what micros are. They don't have any idea how much money they're making. Like, so they live in this constant state of stress. So my idea was to create a program where you develop a new habit every month. And I just wanted to go out and help people have some sort of accountability. So on my nutrition coaching page on Facebook, every month I have a new habit, and you can use that page as an accountability. And so right now I'm educating people on sleep and trying to get them to sleep more and giving them habits of how they can sleep more, and also giving them the education as to why. Because, you know, when you're educated, sometimes that'll help you actually do what you know to do.
Right.
But realistically, most of us know a lot of what we should do. We just don't do it. So if you get a lot of people together doing healthy things, then a lot of times you'll show up and do it. So that was kind of my idea, and that's why sleep has been like this month's habit to develop. So I'm educating people there on sleep. Also, my own life, when I got adrenal fatigue, one of the most important things and the reason I healed was obviously I was taking in copious amounts of food and nutrients, but sleep was paramount. I had to sleep before midnight at least 4 hours. Like my goal was to get to bed like by 8 o'clock, because the more hours I got before midnight, the better it was. And then they wanted me to sleep like 10 to 12 hours every single day. Like it was crazy.
Wow.
Like I was just supposed to keep sleeping, but sleep heals your body so much faster than anything else. And so it's super important. So I'm very passionate about it because it really, attacking that habit and making sure that I was doing it every day is one of the reasons I got to go to the CrossFit Games, because it healed me. As far as chasing your dreams, that's kind of my message, because it's so baffling to me that people have all this stuff in their heart that they want to do, and they never either say it out loud or devise a plan to get there. They just assume they can't.
Well, and I saw one of your videos where it's almost like they let everybody else, they assume it's for them, for others, and it's never really, they never go, I could do that.
Yeah. And also a lot of times they don't know really what they want, and they're scared to say that they want it. That's one of the reasons that my post today was, about like saying out loud that I want to change my body composition, because most people will be like, you look fine. You have pictures in a bikini on your Facebook and on your Instagram. Why do you want to change that? And I'm like, why is it bad that I want to be better? Or why is it bad that somebody wants to be an astronaut? It's the same thing. Why is it bad if somebody wants to compete in a bodybuilding competition or then the next year go to the CrossFit Games? Like, you should be able to make money or be a full-time preacher or whatever it is that's in your heart. God gave you that like desire of what you wanted to be, and it's probably something where you could literally help change the world and change some other people's lives if you actually stepped into your power and started moving toward that. So inside my coaching, I make people get really honest with themselves and tell me what they really want and why, without the, daddy told me I should do this, mama said I should do that, and the thought that, well, somebody else did it, I can't do that. That was just for them. Like, let's devise a plan and get you there. What's the worst thing that happens is you become a better person and you get closer to it. Like,
right.
Let's do this. Like, that's the journey, and trying to reach something is basically what life is. I mean, inside of going to the CrossFit Games was a 3-day event. That was like a blink in the eye of the 5 years that I took to change my life and to change the habits and to change the person that I am. That was just a celebration of the person I had become. That wasn't necessarily like the pinnacle of all things, and now I just need to sit down and not accomplish anything. Now I have all these skills that I can use to do whatever I want.
Well, and
because I chose to go there.
Well, there's these milestone things, and some of them are evident in our life, like the CrossFit Games, milestone. But there's also the milestone moments when you make the mental decision that I want to look differently now. That's a milestone moment. And your life's full of these.
It is.
It's like a heartbeat. Your life's full of these ups and downs, and it's what you do in between that really kind of determines if you've learned your lessons, if you put your passions into play. Hey, folks, don't forget, this episode is also brought to you by Team Monteith with Keller Williams. Find ChattanoogaRealEstate.com. Part of that transition from going from CrossFit to the nutritional, the success coach, helping others chase their dreams, was you saying to yourself, okay, I've loved CrossFit, but now I want to look different. I want to feel different. I want to help other people do the same thing. So you start down this journey, and in the course of the journey, you've built your own brand. You're still in the process. One of the things that I love about having a podcast and all these different guests is they're in such different places in all of their journeys, but all of them are in the process. All of us are in the process of building a brand. You're building a brand that is the business. Your brand is your business. You are your business. Building that brand, have you enjoyed it? Has it been frustrating? Has it been, have you learned lessons? What's the issue? What's the deal with building Chasity Snowden's brand? Have you liked it?
Yes. I mean, honestly, I love it. I love the ebb and flow and how it's morphing over time. It's morphed over the past 2 years, and it just keeps growing and changing and becoming, and now it's like completely comes full circle as to why everything's happened in my life is because I was supposed to create this, which is, it's amazing because I've been through a lot.
It's cool when you have that realization, though, that the thing I didn't understand 10 years ago and the thing that I thought was done and I'd learned my lesson 5 years ago, all of that comes back to right now.
Yeah, it's incredible, to be honest.
So a part of that is the brand building is knowing your story. What has been as you started doing this, what's been a surprise about it? In other words, I'm going to say brand, but it's a business you're building. It's a business. And if you're a business owner out there, you could probably relate to some of the same struggles you've had or the same surprises. What has surprised you, or what's been the struggle about building a business?
Let's see. There's been a lot of surprises along the way. What's interesting is it wasn't ever a decision that I wanted to build a business. I was raised by two entrepreneurs, a Mary Kay consultant that used to drive a pink Cadillac, and then my dad's a car dealer, which you know him. Like, he's had his own business my whole life. Like, and I always was taught you're supposed to go to school and, like, you know, get a job and work for somebody, because that was kind of the mentality. You go get a degree and you work for people.
Right.
So over and over again, I would just be working for people, and it would be like, I'm in this situation and my voice is like way too loud for the space I'm in. And then I would move to a new space and I would learn and come to the top. And all of a sudden my voice was way too loud for the space I was in. And it just kept happening. And it just recently happened again. But the cool thing is along the way, I guess the surprise is the brand is me, but it was being built over like what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, the good things in my life that happened to me, the bad things that happened. All of it encompasses Chas Snowden, but it all encompasses my new Fearlessly Authentic movement. And without all of it, I would have never known. I guess what surprised me is how much the bad stuff created the movement that I want to put into the world.
You know, I've got a guy, I got the seminar I do. One of them is LIST, LISTS. I'm redneck and I talk kind of fast, so things get, kind of confusing when I talk. But LIST, one of the lists I think everyone should have, and it should constantly change, are people you want to meet. They don't have to be inside your industry. They don't have to be financially successful. Just people that intrigue you, that you could learn from. And one of the guys that I have in my world, I'm lucky to have him, he tells me all the time, he goes, I can't do, and he's a little pessimistic, so I'm not saying you should adopt this, but he always says, I can do very little with good news. I can do a lot with bad news. In other words, I can do a lot of stuff with things that, hey, if you bring to me a problem, that is the opportunity to learn, to fix it, and to grow. If you bring me good news, I do stuff to get good news. And what you just said, though, the learning how the bad things actually precipitated all the good stuff, that's kind of the business world. I mean, the stuff you look back on and you think to yourself, man, I always thought that was something that bad. Getting fired from that job was bad, or losing that relationship was bad, or blah, blah, blah was bad. And now you're looking back on it and you're going, you know what? I wouldn't be here if that didn't happen.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool.
It's the epitome, like, it's iron sharpens iron. Like, I just kept getting sharper with, like, the amazing people that I have had in my life. But then also, it's like some of the amazing people, I outgrew them. And I got sharper and sharper and sharper and then my voice got louder and louder and louder. And then I had to move to another place. And I'm definitely a proponent. I want to be the dumbest person in the room.
Absolutely.
Like, I want the people in my space to literally make me nervous. Right.
That's a great attitude. I love that attitude. That's that's the warrior attitude. That's what you said. Iron sharpens iron. See what happens when you talk too fast? All right, authentic. What is you're doing now? Is it Fearlessly Authentic, or correct me?
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure I said it right.
Fearlessly Authentic.
What is that?
Okay, so the way it all basically came about is in 2017, I went to regionals, and I ended up being sixth on the training think tank team, and, we missed going to the games by one place, and I was annihilated. Just my whole purpose identity was just gone, because I had wrapped up everything I was as a CrossFit athlete. That's what I thought my identity was. Then I spoke to Becky Konzelman, which is the creator of FaithRx, and she reminded me that my identity wasn't in CrossFit. Like, before CrossFit, before bodybuilding, before having a disease, before whatever, like, my identity's in Christ. Like, I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. Like, but that's where I needed to find my foundation, and whatever vertical I went into in life was going to change. And if I placed my identity and all of my eggs in one basket, like 10 years from now, I might be a mom with 3 kids. Like, and now you're thinking the only thing that you are is a CrossFit athlete? Like that, I mean, that's like thinking you're, a high school football player, and people live in that space.
Right.
And she reminded me that, I needed to fear less. And there was nothing in this world that I had to fear ever again. And it didn't matter if I was 6th or if I made the games or whatever. And so from that point on, like, fearless was my word for the entire next year, and I ended up making the game. The cool thing about that is I got fearless tattooed on my side. The not cool thing about that is Becky just actually passed away. And one of my mentors actually is gone. But the cool thing is like, she's literally changed my life. After the CrossFit Games, I ended up going to Warrior, which is more of a mindset thing for men, but they allowed 300 women to come in and try it for one beta test. And I was part of, I think there was 50 to 60 of us that were in the accelerated program. And the program is by Garrett J. White. I don't know if you know who he is.
I do not.
Inside of that, his whole purpose is basically, he always says the most powerful person in the room is the one that doesn't have anything to hide. And the moment he said that, and he basically, like the beginning of his book, he's like, "Hi, my name's Garrett J. White. I cheated on my wife." And you're like, whoa, like, I'm Southern. People don't talk about that.
Absolutely.
We hide everything. And we are perfect all the time. And that's the way I was raised. Like, so my home life was like a crazy, like fighting, all kinds of stuff going on. But yet on the outside, we always looked perfect. And that's kind of the way I lived my life. And what I realized is I was hiding so much of my life for this fake facade. And that's one of the reasons I was very fearful of things, was because I didn't even know who I was. I wouldn't even tell the world that I had an eating disorder. I'd hid it for like 15 years. And I was just like, forget it. I'm putting these sandbags down. I'm telling the world exactly what has happened to me. I no longer will lie about anything. If I've got an emotion, I'm going to tell people about it. I no longer want to hide anything. And from that moment on, authentic was my word. I even have it tattooed on my wrist. So I have authentic tattooed on my wrist, and I have fearless tattooed on my side. And the culmination of both of those just became that I was like, I literally want to coach people and show them that they can go from where they are now to wherever they want to go, as long as they are fearlessly authentic and open and stay where they are now. But until you remove the mask and look in the mirror and look at yourself and say, this is where I am, physically, mentally, relationally, spiritually, you can't get anywhere. So I want to create a movement basically where you become fearlessly authentic and you are fine and content and love yourself where you are, which means you basically can move and go anywhere you want to go.
That is super cool. I hate to go back. What kind of, when you said you had an eating disorder, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah.
What was it?
What kind?
Yeah. Was it an anorexia?
Oh, honey, I was all of them.
Oh, okay.
I was very good at all of them.
Okay, great.
But to be honest, my primary eating disorder was bulimia, which is not the cool eating disorder, so I hid it even more.
Right.
Like inside the eating disorder community, it's cool to be anorexic, like to not eat and be like, oh, I'm not going to have that. Like I don't eat a lot. It's really not cool to throw your food up.
Wow. It's not healthy either. None of them are healthy at all. Yeah.
No, but that's honestly, I have a tattoo on my wrist, and I haven't told a lot. I've told this story in one event. I gave a seminar and told basically about my life. But I have a tattoo on my wrist that says set free, and all of my tattoos are in the place. They're there for a reason, and they're specifically put there for a reason. But my wrist, the reason it says, and this is, I've never actually shared this except for those 15 people. The reason it's on my wrist where it is because that's where I used to put my hand on a toilet. Oh. And as soon as I made the decision that I was never throwing up again, I tattooed my wrist, because if I ever got in that position again, it would remind me where my identity was, and I didn't need to put my head in a toilet ever again.
That is, sorry you went through that, but somebody will hear this, and that will affect them. That is a Sad story, but the ending's happy. The ending's happy.
Oh, yeah.
The ending's very happy.
It has all happened for a reason.
Well, I was sitting there listening to you tell your story and how you got fearless from here, authentic from here, you got this from here, and it all goes back to what we were talking about, that journey and that brand and how it all seems to come together. So if people are wanting to find out more about you, or if they're wanting to maybe call you and see what the coaching aspect may be like, where's the places they can reach out and find out about Chasity Snowden?
Well, I have an Instagram. It's Chasity, Chasity Snowden. So, and then _FLA for fearlessly authentic, FLA. That's my Instagram. And then my Facebook, I have 2 pages. There's one that's Chasity Snowden, but I always tell people go to the Snowden nutrition coaching page, because the other one, I just don't. I post on it, but it's full and I can't really accept people. So it's a Chasity Snowden nutrition coach is the Facebook page. I do have a Twitter. It's Chasity Snowden. Sometimes I post more on Twitter, which people don't. I didn't know this, but there's a lot of people on Twitter.
I'm getting used to it. I just started a couple months ago.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Twitter is like my, I have a thought and I just throw it on there. Like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
It's definitely my brand to just, everything that goes through my brain, I just kind of put out there. And then I'll have a website coming soon.
Are you taking clients or are you full right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm actually taking clients, and I'm not, because of the way that I do business and I'm very hands-on with my clients, I want to know you. I don't want to know that you just don't sleep. I want to figure out why. Is it because you don't turn off Netflix? Or is it because you hate your husband?
Oh, wow.
So it takes a while.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the reason. Or is it because your husband snores?
What if he watches Netflix? Maybe you hate your husband because he watches Netflix. Maybe.
It could be a combination. And so sometimes I have to get on the phone with the husband and be like, listen here.
Put the Netflix.
You're stressing my client out. So because I work with my clients so detailed and so connected and they have full access to me, I'm not taking on a ton of clients at once.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm taking clients right now. I would love for people to reach out and see if they're a good fit for my program and see how I can help them.
Well, now that we've got this first one out of the way, down the road, I would love to maybe when a topic came up or if there's something going on and we need to have a 10-minute conversation, I would love to maybe be able to reach out and get you back on and let's revisit some stuff. As you discover things, maybe we could get you back on and just do shorter versions of this if you're okay with that.
I would love that. And hopefully I'll have a podcast soon that you can come on.
I would love to do it, but I'm telling you, you would be great for a podcast. You got a great story, a great journey, and I know you're super busy, so I really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, I appreciate you.
No problems. Hey, everybody, thank you for listening to this podcast. Do what I always ask you to do. Share it, rate it, review it. And always check back with us, duringthebreakpodcast.com. Thanks for listening to During the Break. If you like this episode, share it with your friends. If you have a few minutes, please rate and review the podcast on iTunes to help us reach a larger audience. Also, like our Facebook page and check out our website, duringthebreakpodcast.com. If I haven't asked too much already, join us again next time on During the Break.